Hey shooters, True Shot Technology is back again. It's February 2017 already. We're going to introduce a new front sight option for your Mini 14. This is a 583 series. The first parts we're making for this are only going to be available for your Mini that has this style of the newer rear sight. I think they started in 581, possibly some 580s, not sure. If this works well, we'll go try to make them for the older models, the kind with a big puffy looking rear sight and the kind with a little flip up. We'll try that down the line, but for now, just for the newer models with this type of rear sight. What it is our CNC machined. We're going to call this Mini 14 mil sights. This is the same sight we use on the SKS, and it's been real popular there. And we decided to try it on the Mini 14, but to do that we had to raise the rear sight. So these little guys here, this little riser block, custom CNC machined, fresh off CNC today, puts it right, and we already have a prototype tested, but these are the production parts. This one obviously isn't black yet. It will be. It raises your rear sight approximately 5/16 of an inch. Puts it in the same plane as this front sight. It's a simple installation. There's no more Loctite required like we did with our Avenger 3. However, we will still be selling the Avenger 3 unless this just totally outsells it. The Avenger 3 slides over. Now this is what your barrel is going to look like. Whether you have the short tactical tapered barrel, see the taper here? This is what I mean by tapered barrel. Some guys are not sure what I mean by that. Whether you have the short tactical, which would be about 2 inches shorter, or this standard 18 inch. The Avenger 3 will still go over this with Loctite and a single set screw on the bottom. And we'll continue to sell these, like I said. But for this sight, it simply slides on with two 832 socket head cap screws, and it's compression clamped, so you can really move it anywhere you want to on here, but the sight radius needs to be out here at the end, and that's where we tested it. This is going to be a tight fit. If you guys, if that's an issue with you, and it could be, because it could scratch up your blowing. What we're going to do is take the screws out of this and just stick anything you have. Run these screws in from the threaded side. You could put 2 pennies in there. You could put a couple washers and anything, a flat piece of metal. So you can screw your screws down against that piece of metal, or whatever you decide to use. Anything with that's sturdy enough. Here's an old razor blade from a box cutter. It's dull. Just showing you anything you can. Just bring them up until you can feel it touch. This is just to open up this sight so it'll slide easily on the barrel. Do not, guys, don't over torque this. All you're doing is just barely touching it, so it'll spread it open a little bit, okay? And then you can slide it anywhere you want. That's just to get it on close to the step down, where it steps down to this smaller section. Right here is where the old sight came off. Then just take this screws back out, and you'll be able to move it by hand from there. I'm saying right now, anybody that over torques that after watching this video and actually cracks this sight, don't ask for a refund, please. I mean, that's ridiculous. And we had a couple issues with some stabilizer bars too that I'll go over on this video real quick. I mean, that's basically the installation. Put the screws back in from the counterboard side, You're going to use blue Loctite on all screws only on threads. We don't tell you to put Loctite on our barrel stabilizer clamps underneath the clamp. We don't tell you to drill the dimple. You don't need a Loctite underneath this. That's going to be installed. Now you can turn it upside down and rock it on a flat, good flat surface like drywall, granite, or glass. You can actually feel it on wood here, and that will get you real close to being centered. Tighten it up with Loctite on the screws, and then if you need to make an adjustment at the range, keeping your rear sight in the center, you can always loosen this a little bit and just tap it left or right. But if you rock it, if you get it on a flat piece of material, making sure that you're, just like in the AB3 video, making sure this aperture is down below these ears so you're touching on these ears only. You can center this sight the same way you do the Avenger 3 or the SKS front sight. Basically the same way. You can feel it, just rock it back and forth. You can feel all 4 points touch, even though my aperture needs to be lowered. That's the front sight. Now, since this diameter is 9/16 already, what I'm going to do to this gun is I'm going to take this threading kit that I got from CNC Warrior. There's a little guide, and there's a jam nut. I'm going to take this sight back off. I'm going to thread this barrel. I'm going to shorten it first. From here, from the step to the muzzle, you want that to be 5/8 of an inch. As close to that as you can get, because that's about the depth most muzzle devices are going to be threaded. We're going to use a A2 flash hider from Northern Gun Parts with a 9/16 24 thread, and it's about 670 deep, so 625 is 5/8, so anywhere from 625 to 650 when you end up with this, if you want to do this to your gun. The reason I'm telling you this is because you can still use an Avenger 3 if you decide you don't like this sight, you want to do something else. All you're doing is cutting threads into this already existing diameter. There's videos from CNC Warrior all over the net that show you how to use this threading kit. It's nice to have. It's about $70 shipped, but you can also probably just buy this if you already, or if you can find a die on your own, or a tap, and a die handle for that die. One thing, I'm not going to show you the actual threading and worry with that because there's plenty of videos on that. But when you decide to use this, what I do is I take a small screwdriver and that little screw there, I'll turn it in, which spreads the die apart. I'll run the die over the section I want to thread, which cuts an oversized thread. Then I'll take the screwdriver and just slightly back it out. I'll run the die back over the threads, cutting a little more off. Run the screw tiny little bit out again, out to the left, and run it back over the threads a third, fourth time until you get whatever threaded part you have on that. You can feel it, it'll have a nice thread. It won't be too loose, won't be too tight. No big deal. What you're doing is you're just cutting rough and finish threads with the same die. That's the way I do it when I thread something with a die. Okay. We'll be back after we get this barrel threaded. Alright, we're back cutting crown to this barrel to 650 from the step to the muzzle. Now, you know, I know a lot of guys don't have crowning tools and stuff. This isn't necessary unless you want to shorten this distance so you can put a flash hider or whatever on there. It's not necessary to thread this. I tightened this die. I turned the little screw in the die a half a turn, and that's all I could go before I could get it back into this die handle. So that'll give me a rough cut on the thread, and then I'll back it off to where it was to begin with, and go over it again until this flash hider has a nice smooth thread on it. I just wanted to make sure I tell you guys this is how the gun's going to look, and you can see pictures already on the website without a thread and a flash hider. If you don't want to mess with threading it, if you don't have the tools, or if you don't want to pay a gunsmith to do it, It's not a big deal. It's still a really good looking setup. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and thread this. Alright guys, the front sight is installed. Just like I said, turn it upside down, rock it on a flat surface. Flatter than this. But there's the front sight. This barrel's threaded and crowned. You don't have to do that. That's totally optional. After the front sight is installed, you use an 1/8 inch Allen wrench on that. You're going to remove the rear sight with a 1/16 Allen wrench. Make sure you get the short end of this Allen wrench all the way down into the socket. Take it off. Now right now I have the long screw that's going to come with this kit when you buy it for the riser block. So this is the one you're going to pull out of there is only about 1/4 inch or so long. And this one came out easy. In fact, I hear a lot of them, they come loose on the range. So when you get this kit, you're going to reinstall this with blue Loctite. I'm using Gun-Tite, that's blue Loctite. That's a Loctite 242, or Permatex even makes a brand. It's not a big deal. Just make sure you're clean. Take a Q-tip and go down in the hole with the alcohol on a Q-tip. Always make sure with any Loctite that you shake it up real good before you use it. And this is our riser block after it's been painted. It's real simple. You set the riser block on there, you set the sight on top of the riser block, put Loctite on your long 540 screw, flathead socket screw, and tighten it. Don't over tighten it, just tighten it. It's got Loctite on it. I'm going into this over tightening a little more in this video because get it tight with your fingers holding the short end like I just did. Stick it in there, holding it up here by the where it changes, where the bend is. Just tighten it. Don't take out all the way out here and get all that max of torque on there. It's not necessary. A couple of customers recently have actually cracked these stabilizer bars by over torquing them. It sounds silly, I know, but it's happened a couple times. So I'm going to go ahead and install our stabilizer on here. Don't take this wrong. Just to show you, it's not necessary to over tighten them. Any of the screws on any of this stuff. That goes for the 2 screws on this front sight. You know, just get them good and snug. I don't have torque specs because most people, and believe me, I've done plenty of torquing and working for a defense contractor for many years. I know all about torque. I know about torque specs. And most people don't have a torque wrench, especially a small one that goes down into inch pounds for this kind of stuff. So I really don't bother with torque specs for you guys. It's just tighten it, don't over tighten it. I'm putting Loctite on the little set screws for the stabilizer bar. And they're starting to roll around on me. Moving as quick as I can. I know you get bored easy, me too. Anyway, I got Loctite on the 2 set screws for the stabilizer bar. Slide the stabilizer bar onto the web of the gas block. You do not need to drill dimples for our stabilizer bar. This stabilizer does not slip. See, I'm holding the end of this, the short end of this. Get it snug on both sides by holding the very end of it. Okay, then put it in there. Good 1/4 of a turn max. That's it. You can bend this. You can bend these the forks on any stabilizer. Anything's designed that. You can over torque anything until it cracks if you really want to. Don't know why you'd want to anyway. On these tapered barrel models, the instructions will tell you the dimension from here to here where the barrel starts to straighten out. And by the way, these clamps, they have 98% contact to the barrel and to the bar. You'll feel it when you put them on there. They'll pretty much stay on themselves before they even get a screw in them. Anyway, get some Loctite on your screw. Blue Loctite only, just a drop, which I recommend for any firearm accessory. And I'm sorry I'm going through this again, but I had to go through and let you guys know, do not over torque those little set screws on the barrel stabilizer bars. The two little set screws that go on the gas block. It's totally unnecessary. And I'm going to start refusing refunds on that if it happens more. It's only happened twice in several years, so it's not a big issue, but it's just, like I say, it's not necessary to torque this down that much. Now these screws on the clamps here, go ahead and tighten these good. Tighten these good and tight. That's an 832 thread. It's a whole different ball game than a little set screw in a slot. Wipe off any excess Loctite you may have got on it before it dries up on you. And you can hold on to the long end on this. Tighten these clamps. Like, don't over tighten them. Just get them good and tight. And that's not going anywhere. Okay, that's the stabilizer, front sight, rear sight. Like I said, we're going to call this the Mini 14 mil sights because they're like a military style sight. Front post is M6 by 0.75, same as SKS and AK. You get an AK-47 sight view is basically what you're going to end up with. If you want to thread the end of the barrel, go ahead and get it threaded, or thread it if you can do it yourself. It's optional, like I said. Make sure you clean the bore, clean the action real good after you do any kind of this type of work to your gun. And there you have it. It's a tactical look. I know a lot of you guys aren't into that with the Mini 14, but it's a really fast and accurate sight picture. We tested the prototype all the way out to 100 yards and it shot fine. All we did was we made a minor adjustment in the height of this riser block so that you would have your full range of elevation adjustment at the rear sight. And by the way, again, I'll remind you, we recommend you do your elevation adjustment from the rear sight, even though you will get a tool to adjust this front post, but it should be in the center of the globe. Any adjustments you need from that point, use the rear sight adjustment. It's got like 50 thousandths of adjustment up and down each way, 50 up, 50 down. So that's the thing. I'll do a real quick shot of it after it's put into a stock. I got a black ATI, the new ATI stock. I'll show this to you real quick into the video. Any questions, just email us from the website or call us. We'll do as best we can to help you. Hold on for this last view. Alright guys, here's a final view. Again, these are going to be called Mini 14 mil sights. There's actually one sight, you're using the factory sight, but mil sights set with our barrel stabilizer, optional threaded barrel, and the riser that makes that front sight work. This is in an ATI stock. It's a good sight. It's not just for tactical looks, believe me, it's like everything we make. It's more functional. Looks are always secondary. It looks good though if you like the technical look. I know some of you don't, even though you bought a auto-loading carbine. Some of you like that wood and steel look, that's fine. This sight is fast and it's accurate. Easy to install, easy to adjust. By the way, these sights are now anodized too, so that'll help on the wear and tear. Leave comments, call us or email us if you have any questions. These will be available, should be by the end of February. 1st of March, somewhere in there. Probably a price point around $69 for the complete kit, which would be the front sight, sight post adjustment tool, sight post, rear sight block, screw for the sight block, and instructions. Everything you need to turn your Mini 14 into this kind of a military style front sight tactical look real fast and functional. Have fun, be safe.